Peace and shalom, Fountain of Israel family. This is Brother Robert, and I want to thank you for joining me this week. What I decided to do was take some of our lessons and categorize them and make playlists so that you can enjoy and focus on the topics that interest you, as well as the topics that you may want to share with others. So go back to the YouTube page, check out the various playlists, and they could go from being new to Torah or the Torah law. It could be about prophecy. It can be about false doctrine, but I want to put particular lessons together so that you can find it in an easy to search format. So just check out the playlist in our Fountain of Israel YouTube channel. Enjoy the lesson. Peace. All praises to the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and peace to everyone joining us on this program. This is the Fountain of Israel Bible Studies program, and as always, it's an honor and a pleasure for me to stand before you on the Lord's holy Sabbath day. Now today I will be dealing with the topic, or the lesson is entitled, Check Your Pride. Check your pride. Obviously we can look around in our community, our Israelite community that is, and we can see a lot of times that many of us become very, very haughty. We become high-minded. We walk around with our chest out, and our head gets big and stuff because of our knowledge of self and our ability to do acrobats through the Bible with scriptures. But we have to understand something. We already know the famous scripture that, pride come before the fall. But I don't know if many people take that serious. I don't know if a lot of us take that to heart. Because our pride can really, really get us in a lot of trouble. And when we have a prideful heart, the Most High is looking at us. Dare I say, the Messiah, Christ, he's actually looking at us. And what we have to understand is that our Messiah is looking for a people, a particular type of person that he's choosing, that he's looking for to stand with him, to be in his family, to be a part of his flock. And those who are too pride won't be counted in that number. So I want us to take a serious look at pride. I want us to really take a look at that to make sure that we are not letting it get the best of us. Because that alone can get you cut off. That alone. We can say that pride is self-destruction, because that's exactly what it is. And we're going to see that. We're going to see that bear out as we go through the scriptures. I want you to join me first and foremost in Isaiah 14. I'll go first to Isaiah chapter 14, and I'll pick it up at verse 9. Isaiah chapter 14. Let me make sure I have it all. All right, and I will pick it up at verse 9. I'll start at verse 9. And it says, "Hell from beneath is moved for thee to meet thee at thy coming. It stirred up the dead for thee, even all the chief ones of the earth. It has raised up from their thrones all the kings of the nations. And they shall speak and say unto thee, Art thou also become weak as we? Art thou become like unto us? Thy pomp has brought down to the grave. And the noise and the viols, the worm is spread under thee, and the worms cover thee." Now we're talking about Lucifer over here in verse 12. "How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nation?" This weaken the nations. 13. "For thou hast said in thy heart, I will ascend into heaven, I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit upon I will also sit upon the mount of the congregations in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds, and I will be like the Most High. Ooh, you know that's not good, right? Yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit. They that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee and consider thee, saying, is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake kingdoms? What we have to understand is that this is exactly what the end will be for Lucifer. He exalted himself, and the Most High God will humble him. Okay? Now, if he will humble an angel, one of his chief angels at the time, what do you think he will do to you and I? So he said, they that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee and consider thee, saying, is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake kingdoms, that made the world as a wilderness and destroyed the cities thereof, that opened not the house of the prisoner? Guys, this is just a start. All that pride, we know where part of that comes from. Come from the father of lies. Now let's jump around a little bit and look around. We want to look at examples of, that pride where, again, it comes from Lucifer. We're going to look at pride when it comes from various kings or rulers, and look at pride when it comes to us. So let's go to Proverbs chapter 16. Proverbs chapter 16, and we're going to be in and out of Proverbs a lot, so let me just brace you for that. Chapter 16, one verse, which will be verse 18, which says, pride goeth before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. And that's really what most of this lesson is based off of. We already know, we know that scripture. But what you may not know are some of the other scriptures that the Bible has to say about pride. So let us continue. Proverbs chapter 11. Proverbs chapter 11, and I want to read verse 2. It says, when pride cometh, then cometh shame, but with the lowly is wisdom. So it's a good idea if we stay humble. That's what it means, lowly. We need to stay humble, because that pride can just creep in and overtake us. And the end thereof is something that we do not want. But we're still in pride. We're still talking about pride, and we're going to remain in Proverbs one more time. Go back to chapter 8. Proverbs chapter 8. Okay, and I will go ahead and read one verse there as well, which will be verse 13. Proverbs 8:13, which reads, the fear of the Lord is to hate evil, pride, and arrogancy, and the evil way, and the froward mouth do I hate. He said he hates all these things. Look at he hates all these things. Okay, and I you know what? I'll go pride first. Gaya, pride, and it simply means pride. You know what that is? Haughty. Okay, and arrogancy. Okay, it's gaon. Okay, exaltation, majesty, pride. Okay, so that's what it is. That's what it is. Pride, just being arrogant, haughty. You know it all. You have it all. You got it all figured out. Never considering that maybe you could be wrong. Maybe you have the wrong attitude. Maybe you could be wrong about what it is that you believe, or the doctrine. Just question it, just study. But no one can tell you anything. Could be many, many different things. Let's go to Philippians 2. Philippians chapter 2, and I will pick it up at verse 1. Philippians 2 and verse 1. If there be therefore any consolation in Christ, if any comfort of love, if any fellowship of the Spirit, if any bowels and mercy, fulfill ye my joy, that ye may be like-minded, having the same love, being of one accord, of one mind. Let nothing be done through strife or vainglory, But in lowliness of mind, let each esteem other better than themselves. We don't do that. Verse 4, look not every man on his own things, but every man also on the things of others. So if you look at just verse 3 alone, that's going to help you. That's a tool. That's words of wisdom that'll help you and I keep pride at bay. Verse 3 said, let nothing be done through strife or vainglory, but in lowliness of mind, let each esteem others better than themselves. But we do just the opposite. Well, we're better than everybody else. Well, at least I... That's like a sentence of pride right there. At least I... You see how easy pride can sneak up on us? You see why we have to tuck our pride. We have to keep that in check. Look at him over there, and passing judgment over there. And why are you saying that? Because you're not doing it, because you're better than them, right? We must be careful, because you're better than them. Let's take a look at our people then. Exodus 7. Exodus chapter 7. Exodus chapter 7. I'm going to pick it up at verse 1. And it reads, and the Lord said unto Moses, see, I have made thee a god to Pharaoh, and Aaron thy brother shall be thy prophet. Thou shalt speak all that I command thee, and Aaron thy brother shall speak unto Pharaoh. And he sent the children of Israel out of the land. And I will harden Pharaoh's heart, and multiply my signs and wonders in the land of Egypt. But Pharaoh shall not hearken unto you, that I may lay my hand upon Egypt, and bring forth my armies and my people, the children of Israel, out of the land of Egypt by great judgments. And the Egyptians shall know that I am the Lord, when I stretch forth my hand upon Egypt, and bring out the children of Israel from among them. And Moses and Aaron did as the Lord commanded them, so did they. I will drop down to verse 10, if you will. And Moses and Aaron went unto Pharaoh, and they did so as the Lord had commanded. And Aaron cast down his rod before Pharaoh and before his servants, and it became a serpent. Then Pharaoh also called the wise men and the sorcerers, now the magicians of Egypt. They also did in like manner with their enchantments. For they cast down every man his rod, and they became serpents, but Aaron's rod swallowed up their rod. And he hardened Pharaoh's heart, that he hearkened not unto them, as the Lord had said. So, when the Lord is done with you because you've just been arrogant way too long, he just doesn't want to deal with you, he'll make it so you don't even change your mind. He will harden your heart. You just won't even change your mind. Give you an opportunity, ask you nicely, hey, let my people go. You don't want to do it? Okay, fine. We're going to go to, you're still in Exodus, but just go ahead and go up one chapter to chapter 8. And then I'm going to start at 16. Chapter 8, let's start at 16. And the Lord said unto Moses, say unto Aaron, stretch out thy rod and smite the dust of the land, that it may become lice throughout all the land of Egypt. And they did so, for Aaron stretched out his hand with his rod and smote the dust of the earth, and it became lice in man and in beast. All the dust of the land became lice throughout all the land of Egypt. And the magicians did so with their enchantments to bring forth life, but they could not. So there were lice upon man and upon beast. And I want you guys to understand something. Remember, the first time Aaron threw down his rod, and the magicians came and they threw down their rod, and they turned into serpents. So the magicians, Pharaoh's magicians, did the same thing, did the same feat that Aaron did. But when it comes to the lice, oh, the magicians didn't do this. So that tells you there are other little g gods, you know, other angels, whatnot. And they have particular gifts that they can lend man. But it is limited, right? They only can do so much. They can only do so much. 18, and the magicians did so with their enchantments to bring forth life, but they could not. So there were lice upon man and upon beasts. Then the magician said unto Pharaoh, this is a finger of God. And Pharaoh's heart was hardened, and he hearkened not unto them, as the Lord had said. He did not do it. Okay? You know what? Let's go one more place in Exodus, and it'll be chapter 18, if you will. Exodus chapter 18, if you will. Okay? And I'm going to start at verse 1. When Jethro, the priest of Midian, Moses' father-in-law, heard all all of that God had done for Moses and for the Israel, his people, and that the Lord had brought Israel out of Egypt. And let me skip down to verse 6. And he said unto Moses, I, thy father-in-law, Jethro, am come unto thee, and thy wife, and her 2 sons with her. And Moses went out to meet his father-in-law, and did obeisance, and kissed him. And they asked each other of their welfare, and they came into the tent. And Moses told his father-in-law all that the Lord had done unto Pharaoh and to the Egyptians for Israel's sake, and all the travail that had come up upon them by the way, and how the Lord delivered them. And Jethro rejoiced for all the goodness which the Lord had done to Israel, whom he had delivered out of the hand of the Egyptians. And Jethro said, Blessed be the Lord, who has delivered you out of the hand of the Egyptians, and out of the hand of Pharaoh, who had delivered the people from under the hand of the Egyptians. Now I know that the Lord is greater than all gods. For in the thing wherein they dealt proudly, he was above them. They dealt proudly, he was above them. I hope you guys caught that. He was above them. Now, let's go back to Proverbs. Now, as we see, we're going to go to Proverbs 15. We see how Pharaoh was way too haughty, proud, arrogant. He refused. You guys know the story. He refused to let Israel go. And the Lord hardened his heart. So don't get to that point. Don't get to the point where you've been so proud for so long and the Lord doesn't even want to deal with you anymore, or at least give you a chance to even change your mind. You humble yourself, he will exalt you. You exalt yourself, he will humble you. It's a very simple equation. Very simple. So we're going to go on over to Proverbs 15. I just want one verse over there. We're going to jump around Proverbs for a bit. Proverbs 15 and 10, it says, Correction is grievous unto him that forsaketh the way, and he that hateth reproof shall die. So if you can't be corrected, you can't be checked, you don't want to hear anyone say, hey, you know what, let's look and see what the scriptures say. Let's go ahead, consult, let's build together, let's counsel together. You don't want reproof. That's a problem. And that can get you cut off. We're still going to be in Proverbs a little bit. Go to Proverbs 11. Because this was actually trying to teach us something. But let's go to Proverbs 11. I think I did Proverbs 11 already. So let's go to 13 and 10. Okay, I did Proverbs 11 already. 13 and 10. Proverbs chapter 13. And I'm just going to read verse 10. Which reads, Only by pride cometh contention, but with the well advised is wisdom. See, when you got to listen to something. Wise counsel. Over and over and over, the Bible's trying to give us wise counsel. Listen to wise counsel. One another. I mean, doesn't it say, you know, iron sharpens iron? We make each other better. That's what we have to remember. Sometimes there may be sparks. Iron sharpens iron. So there may be sparks sometime, but it is for our good. You're still in Proverbs. Go to chapter 16. I'm going to get a couple of little nuggets out of there. Some of these jewels out of there. Proverbs 16, let me start at 5. It says, Everyone that is proud in heart is an abomination to the Lord. That should wake you up. Though hand join in hand, he shall not be unpunished. That should wake both of us up. That should wake all of us up right there. It says, everyone that is proud in heart is an abomination, because he's probably thinking, what do you have to be proud of? Why are you taking in all that air? Why your chest sticking out like that? Why your head so big? Tuck your pride. What makes you so great? That's from the Most High's perspective. What makes you so great? I'm sorry, are you innocent? Overall, are you innocent? I'm not. Are you innocent? Pride could get you cut off. So I will give you verse 5 one more time before we skip down to the other verse. Verse 5, it says, everyone that is proud in heart is an abomination to the Lord. Though hand join in hand, he shall not be unpunished. I'm sorry, that's what it says. If it hurts a little bit, maybe it should. Because maybe I should hurt you a little bit with the scriptures rather than the Most High hurt you. I'm going to drop down to verse 18. And it says, pride goeth before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. Better it is to be of a humble spirit with the lowly than to divide the spoil with the proud. Be humble. Humility, something that a lot of people don't want to talk about it. A lot of people don't want to talk about it. They get humility all messed up. It's like praying to be the most humble. It doesn't work like that. By definition, you're not humble. We're not getting it. We're not getting it. We're just not getting it. Pray for the understanding of what it really means to be humble. Pray for the understanding. Don't pray to be humble, because it might hurt a lot. Proverbs 18. Proverbs 18, just pray you get the understanding. Humility. Proverbs 18 and 12, it reads, before destruction, the heart of man is haughty, and before honor is humility. When you are humble, when you have humility. Because that's what he looks at. That's what the Messiah looks at. Who is humble. In heart, in mind, in spirit, and in behavior. Who is humble. Why do you feel like you are better? Why? Based on what? Tuck your pride. That's what you and I have to do. We have to tuck our pride. Let's keep this going. Let's keep it going. Again, I told you you're gonna have a lot of Proverbs. When I move away from Proverbs, we won't return until like maybe one more time when we get out of here. But I want to go to Proverbs chapter 26. And again, one verse. One verse. So 26 and 12. Seest thou a man wise in his own conceit? It's a question. There is more hope of a fool than of him. Because you know it all. You got it all figured out. You look down your nose at others, at the brethren. You're better. You're better. You look down at your brother. You look down at your sister. It's what you do. That's your pride. It says it's better to fool. There is more hope of a fool than of him. It's better to someone who doesn't know better. You someone who knows better. And you still have haughtiness in your heart. It's better for that ignorant person. But for you, you know better. And you're looking down your nose. Judging. Because you're stiff-necked, hard-hearted, and haughty. Prideful. I'm sorry I'm sorry I even have to bring any of this stuff up. I'm sorry. But that's just how it is. That's just how it is. It says, seest thou a man wise in his own conceit? There is more hope of a fool than of him. I'm going to go up one chapter to chapter 27. And I'm going to read only the first 2 verses. Boast not thyself of tomorrow, for thou knowest not what a day may bring forth. Let another man praise thee, and not thy own mouth, a stranger, and not thy own lips. Because a lot of people love to say, and they love to bring forth all their accolades and spit it out like on their resume or something. Oh, I'm this, I'm that. I have this education, and I know this, and I've done this, and I traveled the world, and I have this much money, and just brag about every. Oh, I'm a great teacher. I'm a great leader. No. Let another man sing your praises. Let the lips of a stranger say, hey, this is a good guy. You know, this is good. Because it's not you doing it. You might oversell it a little bit. I talk about myself, I might oversell it just a little bit. I'm a little biased. But if someone else, hey, this guy here, This is a good guy, man. He has it together. He has knowledge. He's, he understands X, Y, Z. Let someone else say that. Don't build up yourself, because you might overdo it a little bit, and pride kicks in. Your ego inflates. Pride kicks in, and now ... We're going to continue here. We're going to switch books a little bit and go to Psalms chapter 10. We're going to go back one book, go to Psalms chapter 10. Let's take a look here. I'm just going to start at verse 1. Psalms chapter 10, verse 1. It says, "Why standest thou afar off, O Lord? Why hidest thyself in times of trouble?" It's a question. He doesn't. "The wicked in his pride doth persecute the poor. Let them be taken in the devices that they have imagined." So you're going to get caught up by your own evil schemes and imaginings. Verse 3. "For the wicked boasted of his heart's desire, and blessed the covetous, whom the Lord abhorreth." He hates. And then verse 4. "The wicked, through the pride of his countenance, will not seek after God. God is not in all his thoughts." Have nothing to do with thoughts. Guys, if you live in this world, okay? All right, we aim to be a people in this world, not of this world, right? But you're in this world, you look around and you see people who God is nowhere on their mind. Okay? It's nowhere on their mind. And if he is on their mind, they don't take him serious. So that's a lot of proud people out there. A lot of proud people out there. My hope, my prayer is that you're not one of them. That's my hope and my prayer. See, so let me look at verse 3. One more. Matter of fact, we could just look at all of it. It said, "Why standest thou afar off, O Lord? Why hidest thyself in times of trouble? The wicked in his pride does persecute the poor. Let them be taken in the devices that they have imagined. For the wicked boasted of his heart's desire, and blessed the covetous, whom the Lord abhors." He hates. That's why he stands afar off, because he doesn't like. He resists the proud. Isn't that what the scripture says? He resists the proud. He don't want to have anything to do with that. Verse 4. "The wicked, through the pride of his countenance, will not seek after God. God is not in all his thoughts." And I'm not talking about when you see an award show and they're like, "First I like to thank God." No, that's just, most of that, I would imagine, is fake. Most of the time, Most High is not in the people of the world. He's just not in their thoughts. He's not there. Because things are working for them. A lot of times we forget. We forget that the Lord is resisting them. We forget that because it seems like life is great for them. Hey, they got fame, they got fortune, they got friends, they got contacts. They have it all. And half the time we don't know that. We just see their, television life or their online life or something like that. It may not have it all together. But hey, sometimes the wicked they do prosper in this world. They do. And there's a lot of pride right there. And when everything is going great, they're not thinking about God. Sometimes people have to be humbled and brought low, and maybe then they'll think about God. That's why a lot of times he's pretty much blasphemed or whatever, because you get most people who go to jail and find God. Now, I'm not blasting anyone who's gone to jail. It's an unfortunate thing. Hey, I don't know. I'm not judging you. But we can all agree that a lot of people, quote unquote, find God when they go to jail. Why? Because now you're at your humblest, and now finally he can get your attention. Now finally you have plenty of time to crack open that book and then read it. I just say it's unfortunate that it has to get that low. Pride comes before the fall. It's really simple. You and I have to tuck our pride. We really have to think about that. But will we? Will we consider our ways? You can be a person on top of the mountain, and you can be brought down low. You can have it all, and yet you can still be brought down low. Let's look at that. Go to Daniel chapter 4. Let's take a look at that. Daniel chapter 4. Okay, let's take a look at this. Daniel chapter 4, and I'm going to pick it up at verse 1, which reads, Nebuchadnezzar, the king, unto all people, nations, and languages that dwell in all of the earth, peace be multiplied unto you. I thought it good to show the signs and wonders that the high God had wrought toward me. How great are his signs, and how mighty are his wonders. His kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and his dominion is from generation to generation. I, Nebuchadnezzar, was at rest in mine house, and flourishing in my palace. I saw a dream which made me afraid, and the thoughts upon my bed and the visions of my head troubled me. Now I will drop down. Actually, you know what? I'll just keep reading. I was going to drop down, but I'll keep reading. I saw a dream which made me afraid, and the thoughts upon my bed and the visions of my head troubled me. Therefore made I a decree to bring in all the wise men of Babylon before me, that they might make known unto me the interpretation of the dream. Then came in the magicians and the astrologers and the Chaldeans and the soothsayers, and I told the dream before them, but they did not make known unto me the interpretation thereof. But at the last Daniel came in before me, whose name was Belteshazzar, according to the name of my God, and in whom is the spirit of the holy gods. And before him I told the dream, saying, O Belteshazzar, this is Daniel, folks, master of the magicians, because I know that the spirit of the holy gods is in thee, and no secret troubleth thee. Tell me the visions of my dream that I am seeing, and the interpretation thereof. Thus were the visions of my head, in my bed, I saw and behold a tree in the midst of the earth, and the height thereof was great. And the tree grew and was strong, and the height thereof reached unto the heaven, and the sight thereof to the end of all the earth. The leaves thereof were fair, and the fruit thereof much, and in it was meat for all. The beasts of the fields had shadow under it, and the fowls of the heaven dwelt in the boughs thereof, and all flesh was fed of it. I saw in the visions of my head upon my bed, and behold, a watcher and an holy one came down from heaven. He's referring to angels. Came down from heaven. He cried aloud and said thus, hew down the tree and cut off its branches, shake off its leaves and scatter his fruit. Let the beasts get away from under it, and the fowls from its branches. Nevertheless, leave the stump of the roots in the earth, even with a band of iron and brass, in the tender grass of the field, and let it be wet with the dew of heaven, and let his portion be with the beasts in the grass of the earth. Let his heart be changed from man's, and let a beast's heart be given unto him, and let 7 times pass over him. This matter is by the decree of the watchers, and the demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and given it to whomsoever he will, and setteth it up over it the basis of men. See, we have to understand that's what will happen. This dream thou, Nebuchadnezzar, have seen. Now thou, O Belteshazzar, declare the interpretation thereof, forasmuch as all the wise men of my kingdom are not able to make known unto me the interpretation. But thou art able, for the spirit of the holy gods is in thee. Then Daniel, whose name was Belteshazzar, was astonished for 1 hour, and his thoughts troubled him. The king spake and said, Belteshazzar, let not the dream or the interpretation thereof trouble thee. Belteshazzar answered and said, my lord, the dream be to them that hate thee, and the interpretation thereof to thine enemies. That's when you hear that song, the music in the background. Dun, dun, dun. It happens right about here. In verse 20, the tree that thou sawest, which grew and was strong, whose height reached unto the heaven, and the sight thereof to all the earth, whose leaves was fair, and the fruit thereof much, and in it was great for all, were meat for all, under which the beasts of the field dwelleth, and upon those branches the fowls of the heavens had their habitation. It is thou, O king, that art grown and become strong, For thy greatness is grown and reaches unto the heaven, and thy dominion to the ends of the earth. And he's saying basically you rule the entire planet. You rule everything on earth. And whereas the king saw a watcher and an holy one coming down from heaven and saying, hew the tree down and destroy it, yet leave the stump of the roots thereof in the earth, even with a band of iron and brass in the tender grass of the field, and let it be wet with the dew of heaven, and let his portion be with the beast of the field, till 7 times pass over him. This is the interpretation, O king, and this is the decree of the Most High, which is come upon my lord the king, that they shall drive thee from men, and thy dwelling shall be with the beast of the field, and that they shall make thee to eat grass as oxen, and they shall wet thee with the dew of heaven, and 7 times shall pass over thee, till thou know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will. And whereas they commanded to leave the stump of the tree roots, the kingdom shall be sure unto thee. After that thou shalt have known that the heavens do rule. Wherefore, O king, let my counsel be acceptable unto thee, and break off thy sins by righteousness, and thy iniquities by showing mercy to the poor, if it may be a lengthening of thy tranquility. So he said, look, if you just calm down, be righteous, turn around, treat the poor good, be a righteous king, then your tranquility, your peace will last a long time. Okay, so he said it will lengthen of your tranquility. All this came upon the king Nebuchadnezzar, all that good stuff. But if you stay haughty, the bad stuff would happen. Let's continue to read. 29. And at the end of the 12 months, he walked in his palace of the kingdom of Babylon, and the king spake and said, Is not this great Babylon that I have built for the house of the kingdom by the might of my power, for the honor of my majesty? So he asked himself a nice, big, haughty question. He looks out over his kingdom. How vast, how great. And he did it all on his own. That's what he's asking. 31. While the word was in the king's mouth, there fell a voice from heaven saying, O King Nebuchadnezzar, to thee it is spoken. The kingdom is departed from thee. Ooh, that was quick. Well, that elevated quickly. And they shall drive thee from men, and thy dwelling shall be with the beasts of the field. They shall make thee to eat grass as oxen, and 7 times shall pass over thee, until thou know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and give it to whomsoever he will. The same hour was the thing fulfilled upon Nebuchadnezzar, and he was driven from men, and did eat grass as oxen, and his body was wet with the dew of heaven, till his hairs were grown like eagle's feathers, and his nails like birds' claws. Interesting. Interesting. Oh, but we're not done. 34. And at the end of the days, I, Nebuchadnezzar, lifted up mine eyes unto heaven, and my understanding returned unto me, and I blessed the Most High, and I praised and honored him that liveth forever, whose dominion is an everlasting dominion, and his kingdom is from generation to generation. And all the inhabitants of the earth are reputed as nothing. And he doeth according to his will in the army of heaven and among the inhabitants of the earth, and none can stay his hand or say unto him, What doest thou? At the same time my reason returned unto me, and for the glory of my kingdom my honor and brightness returned unto me, and my counselors and my lords sought unto me, and I was established in my kingdom, and an excellent majesty was added unto me. Now I, Nebuchadnezzar, praise and extol and honor the King of heaven, all whose works are truth, and his ways judgment. And those that walk in pride, he is able to abase. Do we get the entire moral of the story? None of that needs interpretation. We get the entire, as soon as it came out of his mouth. See, that's how close we are that the Most High will deal with you. That's how close. But yeah, we were a little bit too flippant with our words and our attitudes and our thoughts, and they just run amok. But if we don't tuck our pride, we may live to regret it. Let's go over to Daniel 5 and 20. I just wanted to show you something. Just go up one chapter. Go to Daniel 5. And I'm just going to read 20 real quick just so we can see. It says, but when his heart was lifted up, talking about Nebuchadnezzar, and his mind hardened in pride, in what? In pride, he was deposed from his mighty kingly throne, I should say, kingly throne, and they took his glory from him. I just wanted to point that part out right there. Okay, it's not hard to understand at all now, is it? Not hard to understand. It is what it is. That's how it goes. Brothers and sisters, that's how close we are. That's how close we are. No, you know what? We're going to go a few more places. Proverbs 29. We're going to go to Proverbs one more time. 29. Proverbs 29. And I just want to read one verse, 23. I just want to show you how bad it is, how bad it can get. I just want you to understand that. Meditate on that all week. Anytime we do a lesson, meditate on that lesson all week. So you can get it down in you. 29:23, a man's pride shall bring him low, but honor shall uphold the humble in spirit. So Nebuchadnezzar's pride brought him low. You just saw that. You just read that for yourself. That brought him. We must be careful, brothers and sisters. I'm going to start rounding this out here in a second. Romans chapter 12. Romans chapter 12. All right, let's take a look at this. Romans chapter 12. I'm going to start at verse 3. For it reads, for I say, through the grace given unto me, to every man that is among you, not to think of himself more highly than he ought to think, but to think soberly, according as God has dealt to every man the measure of his faith. Don't think too much of yourself. That's what we talk. We cannot be self-centered all the time. Not just so self-absorbed. Humility is not thinking less of yourself. It's thinking of yourself less. We gotta be careful. Let's go ahead, take a look. I'm dropping down to verse 16. Verse 16 says, be of the same mind one towards another. Mind not high things, but condescend to men of low estate. Be not wise in your own conceits. We read that somewhere in the Proverbs. Sounds like Paul read the Old Testament to me. Be not wise in your own conceits. We may get it one day. We might. But that's why lessons like this keep coming back around. That's why we do these lessons. That's why it keeps coming back around. Because if I see it, I know you see it. If I witness it, I know you witness it. If not, if it's only the one you see in the mirror, that's a good place to start. Tuck your pride. We're going to keep going. We're going to keep moving. Go to Galatians Chapter 6. We're going to keep going. Okay, we're just going to go up a couple books. Galatians Chapter 6. I'm going to pick it up at verse 1 real quick. And it says, brethren, if a man be overtaken in a fault, ye which are spiritual, restore such a one in the spirit of meekness, considering thyself, lest thou also be tempted, lest you get tempted, get cut off, fall astray because you make a mistake. You know, a brother or sister, you know, they made a mistake. Don't be so quick to condemn them. Restore them. Help them make things right. No, I'll read it again. Brethren, if a man be overtaken in a fault, he's guilty of something. He's trespassed, transgressed, he or she or whoever. Ye which are her spiritual, you know better. You spirit, you have the Holy Spirit with you. You understand these scriptures. The Most High is with you. Christ is with you. Ye which are spiritual, restore such a one in the spirit of meekness. Be meek when you do this. Let someone try to get right. Okay, in the spirit of meekness. Considering thyself, lest thou also be tempted. Because you could be tempted because you were tempted by your own lust. Because you're going to let that pride and your ego and your anger and your jealousy and all these other negative things creep up in you and have you going down a wrong path. All these things start creeping up in you, and now you're going down the wrong path. You're too busy hating. You're too busy trying to cut somebody off from their salvation and their righteousness. You're too busy judging them, too busy pointing your fingers when 3 of them are pointing back at you. It's hard for people. They just don't want to do it. We're going to go on. Bear ye one another's burdens, and so fulfill the law of Christ. Bearing each other's burdens? What? Bearing each other's burdens? Nope. Our philosophy is that's not my problem, that's your problem. Sounds like a personal problem. Verse 3. For if a man think himself to be something when he is nothing, he deceiveth himself. That's scripture. That's scriptures. You know, I'm looking online and I'm seeing things, and I should not be there. Because I'm seeing too much. I don't get into arguments. I'm not some keyboard warrior. I see too much. Brethren, if a man be overtaken in a fault, ye which are spiritual, restore such as one in the spirit of meekness, considering thyself, lest thou also be tempted. Bear ye one another's burdens, and so fulfill the law of Christ. For if a man think himself to be something when he is nothing, he deceiveth himself. That's just how it goes. I don't know what else to tell you. That's just how it goes. We read this other story before over here in Luke 18. Join me in Luke 18. Join me in Luke 18. We read this before, but we're going to read it again. Luke 18. And I'm going to start at verse 9. Which reads, and he spake this parable unto certain which trusted in themselves that they were righteous, and despised others. Look at what Messiah said. He said, 2 men went into the temple to pray, the one a Pharisee and the other a publican. The Pharisee stood and prayed thus with himself, God, I thank thee that I am not as other men are, extortioners, unjust, adulterers, or even as this publican. How do you, wow, okay, shot out of nowhere. I fast twice in a week, I give tithes of all that I possess. And the publican, standing afar off, would not lift up so much as his eyes unto heaven, but smote his chest, saying, God, be merciful to me, a sinner. I tell you, this man went down to his house justified rather than the other. For everyone that exalted himself shall be abased, and he that humbleth himself shall be exalted. And they brought unto him also infants, that he would touch them. But when the disciples saw it, they rebuked them. But Jesus called unto him, and said, suffer little children to come unto me, and forbid them not, for of such is the kingdom of God. Verily I say unto you, whosoever shall not receive the kingdom of God as a little child shall in no wise enter therein. You don't want to know why? Because little kids don't necessarily, and I'm talking about little ones, I'm not talking about teenagers, okay? I'm talking about you go to preschool, you go to the nursery or whatever, you see toddlers running around. 2-year-old, 3-year-old, 4-year-olds. They don't think they know everything. They're trying to figure it out. They're gullible, they're naive. That's kind of the attitude that we need to have. They play with each other. They don't even see colors yet. Okay, and I mean race when I say colors. They don't even, that's not even important to them. Only thing is important is that truck over there has my name on it. I'm going to go play with that truck. I need to go get that Barbie over there. That's all they concern themselves with. One baby's laughing, they laughing. 2 babies start crying, they start crying. They're, why are we crying? Oh, that's just innocent. Okay, that's it. Innocence. Come in like a child. Not a know-it-all. Not with your chest all out. No. He resists the proud and the haughty. What are we doing? What are we doing? He resists the proud and the haughty. I'm going to go a few more places and close this out. Let's go to James chapter 4. James chapter 4. I'm going to start at verse 1, which reads, from whence come wars and fightings among you? Come they not hence? Even of your lusts, that war is in your members. It's because it's from you. All the fighting and strife, it comes from you. It comes from you and I. All the fighting and strife and stuff. Ye lust and you have not, ye kill, and desire to have and cannot obtain. Ye fight and war, ye Yet ye have not, because ye ask not. Ye ask and receive not, because you ask amiss, that ye may consume them upon your own lust. Ye adulterers and adulteresses, know that not the fellowship of the world is enmity with God. Whosoever therefore will be a friend of the world is the enemy of God. Do you think that the scriptures say in vain, the spirit that dwelleth in us lusteth to envy? But he giveth more grace. Wherefore he said, God resisteth the proud, but giveth grace unto the humble. I hope you guys catch that. Submit yourself therefore to God. Resist the devil, and he will flee from thee. Draw nigh to God, and he will draw nigh to you. Cleanse your hands, ye sinners, and purify your hearts, ye double-minded. Make up your mind what you're going to do, who you're going to serve. Get this thing figured out. Number 9, be afflicted and mourn and weep. Let your laughter be turned to mourning and your joy to heaviness. Humble yourselves in the sight of the Lord, and he shall lift you up. James just gave us a whole little mini speech on being humble with respect to one another and respect to the Most High. With respect to Christ. Humble yourselves in the sight of the Lord, and he shall lift you up. Now we look at the Gospels, and we look at Paul, and here we look at James, and it seems like they're all on the same page. Seems like they're all on the same page. We're not done. Got a few more places, and then we'll be done. 1 Peter. Very next book. 1 Peter chapter 5. And I will begin in verse 1. Which reads, the elders which are among you I exhort, who am also an elder, and a witness of the sufferings of Christ, and also a partaker of the glory that shall be revealed. Feed the flock of God, which is among you, taking the oversight thereof, not by constraint, but willingly, not for filthy lucre, but of a ready mind. Neither as being lords over God's heritage, but being ensamples to the flock. And when the chief shepherd shall appear, ye shall receive a crown of glory that fadeth not away. Likewise, ye younger, submit yourselves unto the elder. Yea, all of you be subject one to another. And be clothed with what? Humility, for God resisteth the proud and giveth grace to the humble. He continues by saying, humble yourselves, therefore, under the mighty hand of God, that he may exalt you in due time. Is everyone not on the same page? James, Peter, Paul, Christ, preaching the same message? Giving us advice. Humble yourself. Humble yourself. Oh, yeah. And by the way, humble yourself. I don't know. I don't know if we're going to get there. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if we're going to actually let this sink down into us. Or we're going to actually go into our closet and just really examine and let some things go and then pray to the Most High that he will just turn the stony heart and deflate our ego. Turn these things around. Work with us on it. I don't know if we're going to do that. I don't know if our ego is going to allow us to ask for a heart of flesh and some humility. I don't know. But what I do know is that if we don't do it, we're going to be a base. We're going to continue to make and have painful experiences, costly mistakes. And we know he resisted the proud. So after a while, he's not going to want to hear it. After a while, he's just going to be done dealing with you. It's like, you know what? Forget it. Question is, how much time you have? How many more chances you have before he's just done with you? You don't know, do you? Of course you don't. Therefore, you're playing games. You're playing games. Let's go to our last place, which would be Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy chapter 8. Chapter 8 reads this. Beware that thou forget not the Lord thy God, in not keeping his commandments and his judgments and his statutes, which I command thee this day. Lest when thou hast eaten and art full, and hast built goodly houses and dwell therein, and when thy herds and thy flocks multiply, and thy silver and thy gold is multiplied, and all that thou hast is multiplied. So when you start living the good life, you forget about God. It's nice. We're in a nice house. We got nice cars. We got nice clothes. I can go to Starbucks and drink coffee with my pinky out. Life is good. 17. And thou say in thy heart, my power and my might of my hand has gotten me this wealth. Isn't that what Nebuchadnezzar said? Okay. And my might and my power and the might of my hand has gotten me this wealth. But thou shalt remember the Lord thy God, for it is he that giveth thee power to get wealth. He gives you the power to get wealth. Understand that, okay? And that he may establish his covenant which he swear unto their fathers, as it is this day. Don't forget God. Don't forget who put you in this situation in the first place. Don't forget who put you there. Let's finish up at 19. And it shall be, if thou do at all forget the Lord thy God, and walk after other gods, and serve them, and worship them, I testify against you this day, that ye shall surely perish. Do I have to explain that? You need zero explanation for that. I teach these lessons simply because it's a refresher. For some of you out there, it's the first time you've seen it. For others, it is a refresher and a reminder. Why? Because I want to see you and you and you and you in the kingdom. That's what I want. I want to be there. And I want to see you there. And I don't want pride to block our way. I don't want that. So I hope someone has gotten something from this lesson. I hope someone out there, anyone, has been edified by this lesson. So until next time, search the scriptures and prove all things.